Okay, it's 6 p.m. Welcome to the October 4th governing body meeting. We will start with an invocation. And this evening, if you would direct your attention, if I could ask Mr. Joe Ledbetter to come to the podium, stand for the invocation, and remain, as you are able, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to quote a scripture. I quoted it last time, but I didn't cite where it was at. It is, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. With all you're getting, get understanding. That's Proverbs 4:7. So with that, I'm going to lead us in prayer. Heavenly Father, I ask tonight that you give this body, this governing body of the city of Topeka, Kansas, wisdom. And that with all that, you make that the principal thing, so that in all of their decisions and all that they do tonight and all that they do throughout this meeting and throughout the week, they will do everything with wisdom and always remember the people and give empathy and understanding in all we do. And I ask that in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. And Madam Clerk, if you will call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla.
Here.
Council members Hiller.
Here.
Valdivia Acala.
Here.
Ortiz. Emerson.
Here.
Kale.
Here.
Nager.
Here.
Dobler.
Here.
Duncan. And Lesser.
Here.
We have 8 present.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 2. We have a couple of proclamations this evening. Is Mr. Joshi with us this evening? If you'll come up here, sir, and join me.
I'm too fat crawling into the desk and work on stuff in. Yeah, I think I'm gonna drop one. I think I'm gonna just leave this quick and do the permanent thing.
That's fine, you know better. Okay, thank you for joining us. This evening is, I think, an opportunity for the city and my office to recognize a religion and ethnicity in our city as part of our population. And we've talked about that all along, and many things that we endeavor to do is to be inclusive with people. So for this evening, a proclamation by the mayor. Whereas Hinduism is the 3rd largest religion in the world, with 1 billion devotees worldwide and 4 million in the United States. And whereas Hinduism is one of the largest practiced religions in the world, and whereas Hindus strive to achieve Dharma, which is a code of living that emphasizes good conduct, morality, and nonviolence, and whereas the city of Topeka recognizes our Hindu-American community for their traditions, vibrancy, diversity, culture, and contributions and values that enrich our great city. And whereas during the month of October 2022, the Hindu community throughout the city of Topeka and across our great nation will collectively celebrate its heritage by focusing on its culture and its rich, diverse spiritual traditions that are rooted in India. Now, therefore, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the city of Topeka, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Hindu Heritage Month. In witness that whereof I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the city of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby affix my official signature and the official seal of the city of Topeka, Kansas on this first day of October 2022.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm going to read from here because I'm not used to doing a speech anywhere. So, first of all, Honorable Mayor, respected council members, and everyone present here, Namaste. My name is Mahendra Joshi, and I'm resident of Topeka for last 11 years. And I have few friends here. They have been living in Topeka even longer than me. It is a great honor and privilege for me to receive this proclamation on behalf of the Indo-American community. On behalf of the community, I would like to thank the city of Topeka proclaiming October 2022 as Hindu Heritage Month. I am also happy to announce that state of Kansas is also celebrating October month as Hindu Heritage Month, and Governor Laura Kelly has signed this proclamation. I will take just a couple of minutes to give little perspective. There are over 1 billion Hindus worldwide and close to 4 million in the USA. There are several million more in America and in Western countries that follow one or more Hindu practices like yoga, meditation, Ayurvedic medicine, and vegetarianism, etc. For Hindus, it has been an incredible journey of over 10,000 years of continuous civilization. And Hinduism has taught us great virtues like freedom, equality, dharma, which is righteousness, non-violence, acceptance, and assimilation. So Topeka has been a home for Hindu families since 1970s, and our community works hard to bring peace and prosperity to the societies where we live. And Hindu community have been successful in Topeka, with many of them being doctors, engineers, and IT professionals, businessmen. Topeka welcomed us, and our community has been showing thanks for this generosity through Indian festivals. So I assume many of you might have attended India Fest that we used to do, which stopped after the COVID. So our community has been doing India Fest for more than 10 years, and we have raised more than $250,000 through this India Fest and donated to local organizations like Topeka Police, Firemen, Shawnee Park and Recreation, and many more local organizations. Apart from the India Fest, many of us also donate money and food for various local charities individually. So once again, I thank you all for this wonderful gesture, and I promise that we'll continue to contribute towards the progress of our city, state, and the nation. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You guys got to start that back. You're welcome.
You should have brought the guy who did this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have a second proclamation, and this is on behalf of the American Cancer Society and National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we have Amy Hedstrom, and I believe we have a few others in the room that, if you wish to join, you can come up. Holly Cobb, Lisa Carlton, Connie, looks like Loans, and Christy Broadus. Y'all here? Okay. Again, a cause that we all are familiar with and has touched many lives, and the work that is being done to make breast cancer awareness part of our daily lives, so that we're aware of our opportunities to help those who are suffering from this affliction that is just devastating for many families. But there is hope. There's a lot of survivors that are here today because of the work of the American Cancer Society. So, a proclamation by the mayor. Whereas October 22nd, 2022 marks 37 years that National Breast Cancer Awareness Month has educated women, men about breast cancer detection, diagnosis, and treatment. And whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month is dedicated to increasing public knowledge about the importance of early detection of breast cancer with natural public service organizations, professional associations, and government agencies who work together to ensure that the NBCAM message is heard by thousands of women and men and their families. And whereas October 21st, 2022 is National Mammography Day, and on this day, or throughout the month of October, women are encouraged to make a renewed commitment to follow recommended breast screening guidelines and to make a mammography appointment. And mammograms are the best method to detect breast cancer early when it is easier to treat. And breast cancer is the most common cancer among American women and men, except for skin cancers. And whereas death rates from breast cancer have been steadily declining, and this change is believed to be the result of earlier detection through screening, increased awareness, and improved treatment. And whereas the awareness campaign is supporting those who are currently fighting the battle against breast cancer, remembering those who have lost their fight against breast cancer, standing with those who remember the loved ones, and continuing to support our nation's advocates with the appropriate activities and programs increasing breast health awareness. And whereas great strides have been made in breast cancer awareness and treatment, there remains much to be accomplished, and the City of Topeka recognizes the importance of working together and supporting events such as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And now, therefore, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, do hereby proclaim month of October 2022 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month and October 21st as National Mammography Day. The City of Topeka and ask all employees and citizens to join in this worthwhile cause to celebrate successes and memorialize lost battles. In witness thereof, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby affix my official signature and the official seal of the City of Topeka, Kansas on this 4th day of October, 2022.
Good evening. My name is Amy Hedstrom. I am here this evening as a representative and volunteer for the American Cancer Society. Breast cancer awareness is very important and personal to me. I was diagnosed in 2015 at the age of 32 with a rare and aggressive form of breast cancer known as triple negative. I am so fortunate to be standing here today as a survivor, as I remember and honor many others who are not. Between 1989 and 2018, the overall breast cancer death rate declined by 41% due to a great extent of early detection. Although many advancements have been made in the treatment and detection of breast cancer, there is still much work to be done. Approximately 290,560 people will be newly diagnosed with breast cancer in 2022. This includes women and men of all ages and races, many with no known risk. This is why breast cancer awareness in October and National Mammography Day, October 21st, are so important. Hopefully, they both serve as a reminder for people to get their regular cancer screenings done and to be body aware and bring something to their provider's attention if needed. The American Cancer Society's research program has played a role in many of the prevention, screening, and treatment advancements that help save lives from breast cancer today, and they will continue to fund research to help save even more lives in the future. Thank you so much for your time and recognition of this matter that affects so many of us.
I'm Dawn Robertson, a representative of the Race Against Breast Cancer, a local nonprofit paying for mammography services. The importance of mammography in the early detection of breast cancer cannot be understated, as the importance of being breast health aware. Our mission to empower those in our community to take charge of their health and to enable those in need to receive free mammography services is one that we carry year-round. The earlier breast cancer is detected, the better the outcomes for those fighting it. We at the Race Against Breast Cancer are thankful to the City of Topeka, Mayor Padilla, and the Topeka City Council members for this proclamation of October 2022 as the 37th year of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the proclamation and promotion of breast health care, including mammography screening. Thank you for your continued support. Your support saves many lives.
Okay. I'm glad we were able to do that. Good causes, good reasons to have these proclamations. Move on now to agenda item number 3, appointments, if the clerk would read.
A is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Bernard Becker to the Civil Service Commission to fill an unexpired term ending October 4, 2026. B is an advisory council appointment of Arcles Wolf James to the City of Topeka Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Advisory Council for a term ending October 4, 2024.
Okay. Council has heard the appointments agenda. Is there a motion? Motion to approve by Councilman Dobler. Second by Councilman Emerson. If you will call the roll, please.
Councilmembers Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
and Hiller.
Yes.
We have 8 yes, motion carries.
Okay, motion being carried. Is Mr. Becker and Mr. James, are you here in the conference room? Okay, good. Thank you for standing. Thank you for your willingness to serve the city. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, if the clerk would read.
The first Topeka Veterans Treatment Court has been postponed. The second presentation is the Polk Quincy Viaduct activation.
Mr. City Manager. That's you.
Sorry, I was thinking I was no longer the city manager. So we have, for Polk Quincy, we have ready for presentation. Rhiannon, do you have, are you in the back? Sorry, couldn't see you.
I'm here.
Would you like to address the council?
Absolutely. Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the governing body. Thanks for having me here tonight. So what I wanted to talk with you all about is I wanted to share some information about the long-awaited outcome of our Polk Quincy Viaduct survey that went out to the community back in August. So I think to best address this, I really want to start from the beginning and talk about the activation task force that we worked to put together with local stakeholders, of which you'll see there's various of those entities back here behind that came to support tonight. But represented in that task force, we had the City of Topeka, Shawnee County, Noto Art District, Arts Connect was a part of that, Riverfront Advisory Council, of course, Downtown Topeka Inc., board leadership, and then the Greater Topeka Partnership. So really the idea was as KDOT, their team has started to go around and socialize the Polk Quincy Viaduct project and talk about timelines and implementation and explaining to the community what that looks like. Brian Armstrong has been a huge part of that and helping the DTI board and the Riverfront Advisory Council understand what that looks like and how it will impact our areas of interest. So throughout that process, the conversation got started of, okay, well, this is wonderful and we're super excited, but how do we make the most of a project that's got construction that's taking place? And how do we, coincide with that and build something that the community can share by activating the space underneath the viaduct as well? So that's really how all of these conversations started. Back in July, this task force was formed, and we put together this survey very thoughtfully with a lot of input from all of these individuals. All right, so here are the initial results from the survey. So the survey broke out. It was very visual. We did that on purpose, right? A lot of the surveys that you get, it's a lot of reading. I feel like we lose people within the first couple clicks. So we wanted this to be visual, engaging. So we showed different images and we titled them as themes. And we asked community members and residents to, select 3 photos that that they felt inspired by the theme or felt like it was a way that they could see themselves utilizing the space underneath the viaduct. I was completely shocked and absolutely thrilled when we got back over 2,600 responses. If you know anything about surveying communities that get surveyed a lot, that's not common. That's huge. So really excited to get that kind of response. And what I will share with you, just to highlight kind of the top 3 that we received the most feedback on, was this idea of a multi-use leisure area. Second place was a family recreation, and then 3 being an outdoor play place. So what I think I really want to drive home here is that all of these are themes, right? These are not designs, these are concepts. They're meant to be, to better describe the way that somebody might interact with the space. So please keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. So I wanted to pull up one visual image that really reigned through. This was the top selected image that people were really attracted to and thought would be a good fit for the space. So this idea of multi-use leisure. So some of the due diligence that I did throughout this process with our team is going through and talking with KDOT and Brian Armstrong and their team to understand, okay, if we're going to put photography in front of the community, let's make sure that we're doing something that could potentially be possible, might need some edits, right? And I don't think the idea of this is to copy and paste what's represented here, right? But to understand that people see a space that's well lit, it adds some landscaping concepts, but things that aren't permanent fixtures, right? Things that can be moved around, can be shifted. I think just really staying away from permanent structures underneath the infrastructure is key. I think that's what really makes this project work for KDOT and the Federal Highway Administration guidelines as well. So getting a little bit more into the survey, this was really the fun part, was to see some of the demographics of the people that interacted with it. So I think the age was probably the most shocking to me in a very positive way. So of the 2,600, a little over that responses, 48% of the individuals that responded to this were underneath the age of 35. Now, if you really know anything about our surveys, you know that that doesn't happen very often. So very exciting to see that we're engaging young professionals, and even outside of that. I mean, 17 to 25, 16.7%. I mean, that's a population that we struggle to reach. So the fact that they were engaged with this makes me think that this is a space that they see themselves utilizing in the future. So definitely gives us hope. We also offered the opportunity for people to self-elect where they reside at, breaking out the different areas of Topeka. I was impressed that I felt like we got a pretty well-rounded response out of this, especially for, I will say our main way of communicating this out was through Facebook. That's just really where it kind of caught fire at, and to see that it hit people all across the community was exciting. So yeah, happy to see that it felt like everybody's voice was represented. We also broke out and let people have the opportunity to self-elect race as well. So you'll see that information is broken out here too. I also do want to say that we did make it an option that you can always prefer not to say or elect not to share that information if that wasn't something that you were comfortable with. And the same with ethnicity. So another thing that I think is important to share is that with all of this information and all of this response, to say that this was something that we pulled together fairly quickly, right? This was a survey that was launched in a month. That I think for us to really understand feasibility and understand what the possibilities for this space are, and to really understand what the community wants, it is a full-scale community engagement, community outreach plan, right? To get to people in neighborhoods that are not reached by Facebook, right? To be really intentional about making sure that you're inclusive of everybody. And we were on a time crunch, so we did the best with what we could, and I was pleased with our results, but I know there's definitely a way to increase the communication that we had. So next steps, so talking about what's next, on October 13th, there is a grant that is due, and Councilwoman Hiller was kind enough to share this information with me, and she sent this Reconnecting Communities Pilot Grant Program. And I've been really fortunate that timing has worked out, that Coinciding with all of this, the city has brought on Kalea Powley. She's their Senior Grants Program Administrator, who has been absolutely amazing to work with and has helped me through this because I am certainly not a grant writer, and I'm happy to have her assistance along the way. But this grant, when you read it, when you dig into this, I would encourage you all to take a deeper dive. It almost feels perfect, right? So this is the bipartisan infrastructure law. It was established, and they created this new Reconnecting Communities pilot grant. It's a discretionary grant program funded with $1 billion over the next 5 years. So this is just year one, right? So there will be multiple years when you're able to go after to try to obtain these dollars. And the goal of this is really sought out to reconnect communities that were cut off from economic opportunities by transportation infrastructure. So we're really talking about projects that are impacted by heavy highways like the Port Quincy Viaduct and what we can do to kind of build back communities that were there before the infrastructure was in place. So lots of exciting opportunities here. And I wanted to share some of the components of the grant program. These are just the 4 main components that they're asking communities speak to try to explain why this is the right fit for them and why these funds are best fit. So really focusing on equity, environmental justice, community engagement, mobility and community connectivity, community-based stewardship, management and partnerships, as well as equitable development, shared prosperity, and resilient communities. So all of this to say, this is a huge opportunity. This is a pilot program, so we don't have a lot of historical reference as to, what communities have been successful going after this type of grant in the past. But what we would really be looking for is there's 2 pieces of it, and we would be going after the planning portion of the grant. So I think the idea is that there's a lot more planning that needs to go into this space. Certainly this survey is not the plan. This was just a way for us to engage interest, but the goal would be that the city would go after this grant in hopes that we would be granted the funds to come back and do some planning while construction continues to happen to the viaduct. And then, should we be lucky and decide to pursue, there's opportunities for capital construction grants through this program as well. I'd be, happy to get questions.
I didn't know if you're done.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay. City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, might also add to that, the grant that we're pursuing is up to $800,000. There's a 20% match tied to that, and assuming that we get that, at that point in time, we'll have some discussions about where that money comes from.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilman Cow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How many of these pods would you expect that you could kind of make throughout the whole viaduct? And would they be something that through almost be connected for a larger event, if you had multiples of them?
Sure, yeah, so we're so early in feasibility, right? I mean, I think we're still trying to understand the amount of space, and Brian Armstrong has done a great job working with the KDOT team to help me understand, right? So I've learned it in football fields, right? So essentially there's roughly around 3 football fields of open space that will be blocked off by streets that run through, of course, Kansas Avenue, Topeka Boulevard. But, I don't think that we're that far down the process yet to be able to answer that, but, certainly open to new ideas and ways that we might be able to connect that space.
Councilwoman Hiller, did you have?
I didn't have my hand up, but I just wanted to really support what's happening. As with projects, what really drove the 30-day timeline was, oh my gosh, they're putting the utilities in. We have to figure out where they should go. And it's just exciting to see how the partnership, DTI, everyone has pulled together to engage the full community, not just folks near the bridge.
Yeah, I actually appreciate you mentioning that. That's something that shouldn't go without saying, right? So one of the key hurry-up pieces of this was that, as utilities and new conduits being laid, utility relocations taking place, it's important that we understand that if utilities are going to be a part of uplighting or different types of accents that we'll utilize underneath the space, that it's best to do that while the city's going through that process currently versus trying to go back after it's been completed.
Deputy Mayor?
Well, and that's my question, whether it's to you or to Brian back there, or whether it's to the city staff. I mean, the conversation you and I had at one point were the concern that we know where these spaces are. I mean, we know where these underspaces are. What we're going to do with them, we're still undecided. So I think one of the concerns was just what you meant. We know at one point there was no plan to put utilities into these areas. Has that officially changed? And if not, do we need to take proactive steps as a governing body to make that happen? Because, I mean, we would hate to build this whole thing and then go back and say, man, it'd be great, we really want to put this in place if we had just run those water pipes there in the first place, or electrical there in the first place. But I know at one point we were in a circular conversation where it was kind of, KDOT said, we don't care, you just need to tell us what to do. And poor Randall was like, somebody just tell us who we got to talk to make this happen. So where are we with utilities to these spots, even if we don't have a specific plan yet?
Brian, do you have a response?
And if it's on us, someone needs to say to us, it's on you folks, and you need to make some decisions.
Right, so I'm not totally involved, but I am a little in the loop of what's going on the city utility relocation side. They're about at a 50% design level right now on the sanitary and water relocation stuff that's going to start March, April of next year and go for about a year of relocation. It's probably really at a good point right now to have that conversation within that design group of, here's the relocations that have to happen because of conflicts. They have preliminary alignments for routing figured out. And yes, if we said, okay, in addition to that, are we close enough to serve these areas with water or infrastructure in the future as design might come up under there? And it's probably right about that time to have that internal discussion with Braxton and his team.
Okay. Well, can you figure out, city manager, when we need to have this conversation so we don't miss the window?
No, yes, sir, I can tell you that it looks like the 50% plan reviews were completed yesterday.
Okay, so yeah, we need to, because I don't want us in February to be saying, oh, if only we talked about that in January or whatever, but yeah, so thank you. If we could figure that out and know that we get a timeline on when we need to make some decisions. Thank you.
Councilman Dover?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate again what a great partnership this is between the City of Topeka and KDOT. You think about when this highway was originally put through in the late 50s, early 60s. I don't think the city had a lot of say back then. It just kind of went through the middle of town, and as with a lot of communities, cut the town in half. Now we have an opportunity to do some things underneath that can perhaps bring us back together. I know this has been said before, a lot of great ideas. There's only certain things that can be done. Ultimately, FHWA has the final say, so it's, but again, just the cooperation that we've seen with KDOT, the good partnership that we've got is really good to see, and something that we haven't always seen. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hiller?
Thank you, Mayor. I was on the concept design team more than 10 years ago when Neil was working on it too as an engineer, and something that I appreciate on the behalf of the planning team all the way back then and up till now is one of the things we said is we want that bridge to be beautiful, not just a bridge. We want people to be able to look over the side of the bridge going east or west and be able to see our new riverfront developments, which we were already thinking about, and our city. We want you to think about it then. We even then talked about developing under the bridge and said, so let's think about where all the runoff pipes go so that when you look up, it looks decent instead of it doesn't matter, which leans back into what Neil was part of those conversations in the first place. And so, just fundamentally right now for those utilities, instead of the fundamental of just get them out of the way of the construction to we need to have them at least running through there so they're accessible is huge. And I too appreciate everybody along the way grabbing that and owning it. So, thank you.
Rhiannon, I think at one time when you and I were visiting in the office, and I know we're way away from a lot of these details, but I like the title of this, Connecting Communities, to begin with, and the intentional effort to try and revisit what occurred because of the installation of the bridge. And I know that it was mentioned that there would be representations, or there's the thought of putting representations from the African American and Hispanic community that were dispersed, as it were, by that act. And I think that's important, that those populations know that, in fact, there will be an effort in that sense. And I heard some of the ideas you were throwing around and stuff. I like them all. I know that there'll be opportunities for the community to give in some input on that. And like Neil said, at least we have a voice in this way. And it's not going to be just plain old concrete walls and pillars. It's going to be something that's significant for the city. So thank you. And if you would want to have recognize your task force group, I'd be more than glad to have them stand so we can thank them for their effort as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. Yeah, I've got, Jennifer Sork on the DTI board. Sarah Fazell is here as well. And then, I'm going to put Brian Armstrong in that. He's a part of the team. Whether we might not always have the same ideas, but he's a part of the team.
Good.
And Kalea.
Thank you. Thank you, Rihanna.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. City Manager.
For the next presentation, we'd like to talk TFC Digital. In the back, we've got Monique Laudet, and online we also have Scott McCown. Scott, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure, I'll go ahead with that. Give me just a second and I'll share my screen. All right, good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. Can everybody hear me okay? Just a simple thumbs up. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, as we celebrate Digital Inclusion Week, I'm here to report on how the TSC Get Digital team is turning our moment as a city into this movement. And so if there are any members of our team or of community partners that are here tonight, please stand up and be recognized as a group for our efforts. I'm going to assume that the whole team is there because I can't see them on screen. Well, here's a picture of our team, just in case they aren't in the room tonight to share this time with you. These are the participants in our core group, and this consortium of leaders is essentially doing this work and trying to reach out to the neighbors in our community and make sure that everybody can get connected and that everybody can have the training necessary to be productive online. So let's talk a little bit about our efforts since the last time I've had an opportunity to present to the group. We began with, as you'll recall, last fall we received a $250,000 Kansas Health Foundation grant. We used that money, it's a 3-year grant as I recall, and we used some of that money to hire our first digital navigator and our technical navigator. These first 2 part-time employees have been an instrumental part of our organization and trying to help serve our neighbors in need. We obviously will need additional resources and additional members on our team to be able to do the level of work that does need to be done in our community, but this has given us a pretty good first start. We've also partnered with PCs for People. Our goal with serving them, or with them serving our community, is as we do our collection events, and we had a collection event on April 16th, and we have another one scheduled for this Saturday, the flyer which I've posted on your screen here. They've been collecting devices, gently used devices from around our community, and then refurbishing those so that we can get them redistributed to our neighbors who are in need. Again, this is a huge effort, and we will need to seek additional resources in order to expand that effort. But we are on way. During the course of this summer, we also received a $140,000 grant from Jayhawk's Area Agency on Aging. And we used this grant to purchase some of those devices that we helped collect and work through PCs for people. As they refurbish the devices, we purchased them on behalf of our Topekans who qualify for at least one form of federal program and who are age 60 or older. We began our process with an intake process, basically. Our digital navigator, as well as a team of volunteers, would work with our applicants to make sure, number one, that they're qualified, and number two, that they are prepared to receive their devices, and then we schedule those at distribution events. So far, our digital navigator and the team in the Unique's office have received over 2,000 phone calls from people who are interested in receiving a device and or interested in getting assistance with the internet. And of course, we're qualifying them where we can for the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program. We have also, through this effort, distributed last week actually, 496 desktop kits. These are the refurbished items that come from PCs for People. And our goal, if I recall correctly, was 1,200 devices for our Topekans over the age of 60 under the JAAA grant that we received. In addition to receiving the devices, we have also provided training services through our consortium through the Shawnee County Public Library with 91 participants thus far having taken advantage of that opportunity. Upcoming events that we have planned. Obviously, we have on Saturday the next collection event, but we also plan to continue, as I said, distributing the available desktops for those qualifying neighbors around the city of Topeka who are over 60. We are also working on a potential event in conjunction with Storytime Village out of Wichita and Shaquille O'Neal to potentially provide additional devices for families to serve that population kind of in the middle of the population served by Topeka Public Schools and the current population being served under the grant for the JAAA. We are seeking additional funding opportunities to not only support the expansion of our team, but also to support trying to reach those folks who are under 60, but yet don't have students attending Topeka Public Schools. And a big key focus in everything that we're doing is recognizing that getting the devices out there, getting the connectivity, that's not enough. We also need to provide the training and ultimately technical support that our families and our individuals over the age of 60 are going to need in order to be successful with these things. At this time, that's the efforts that we're working on at this time. If you would like, I can take some questions or answer or give any additional details that you need.
Any questions from the body? Okay. Councilwoman Hiller.
This is not a question, this is a shout out to Councilman Dobler for, I give you credit for getting this whole thing rolling, and Scott Gowan, who's been fabulous taking the lead. We've served together on the Public Health and Safety Committee, and was it a year ago or 2 years ago? Maybe 2. And Councilman Dobler identified that this was coming, it was coming fast and so important. And I give him credit for putting the first group together. They met outside of the Public Health and Safety Committee, but periodically checked in and reported what was happening, and we kind of talked it through. And at this point, if I understand it correctly, this is the send-off point where that group has grown, has had staff support. I know Monique Glade and her staff have helped from the city, but others as well, and Scott went through the names of many of those partners. It's exciting to see something develop in a timely and strong way the way this has, and so to give kudos all around.
Thank you. Councilwoman Valdivia.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to that shout out to grassroots people that have been involved in this, I want to point out specifically Lizone Grays being at many, many tables offering a multitude of ideas and possibilities with the vision that he consistently has and brings forth, often as a volunteer, never asking for much. And I think that Topeka needs to understand in this public setting the role that he has played in help moving Topeka forward, especially in underserved communities. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Dobler.
I appreciate the shout out, Councilwoman. I did basically nothing. I asked a question and
That's the best way, right?
yeah, and some folks got together. I'll second the comment about Lizone. I've learned a lot from Lizone. He's talked about things for a lot of years, and it finally makes it the timing was just right, that his knowledge has served us very well. And also Scott. Scott's just taken the lead, and it's been fantastic. So I'll take about 0.1% of the credit. The rest of it goes to the group that's been working really hard on this for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Scott and Councilman and Lizone. Thank you for everyone who's involved with this effort. I appreciate the effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We will move on now with agenda item number 5, the consent agenda.
A is a resolution introduced by City Manager Stephen Wade naming banks and savings institutions that are designated as depositories for all City of Topeka accounts and authorizing signatories and rescinding City of Topeka Resolution Number 9300. B is a resolution introduced by City Manager Stephen Wade concerning the City of Topeka's participation in the State of Kansas Municipal Investment Pool and rescinding City of Topeka Resolution Number 9301. C are minutes of the regular meeting of September 6, September 13, and September 20, 2022, and there are no applications.
Okay, thank you. We've heard the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Councilman Kell, second by Councilwoman Hiller. If you call the vote, please.
Council members Emerson,
He had to leave.
oh,
Sorry.
sorry. Council members Kell,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
and Valdivia Akala.
Yes.
We have 8 yes, motion carries.
Motion's been carried. We'll move to agenda item number 6, public comment. And Mr. Grace, we have you signed up for comment today.
Meeting, huh? Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Administrator, City Manager. Congratulations, Mr. Wade. Glad to see you there. I just wanted to just sort of piggyback off of what Scott had mentioned about Digital Inclusion Week. It was started by the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, NDIA, years ago, and it's running this week. And I'm going to sort of read from here. If you had gotten in your email, that's great. Organizations and individuals across the country are hosting special events and campaigns promoting digital equity in their communities. And so as an affiliate of NDIA, our organization and myself have been sort of advice and counsel. I just want to do my part for the group because across the nation this week they're holding events, recycle events. People are coming in, speaking with the elected officials, trying to make sure that digital equity stays on the radar. There's a lot of things that local governments have to deal with and are dealing with right now, but sometimes this can be sort of pushed to the background. I'm not here for accolades. I don't do what I do for accolades. I appreciate everyone for what they have said, but I am just trying to do something that is positive for this community. And there's a great opportunity. Unfortunately, the COVID took a lot of lives, but as Councilman Dobler said, it sort of opened up people's eyes. And Topeka's not as unfortunate like maybe in rural areas. We do have a good number of good internet service providers. And we do have now a pathway for free internet with the Federal Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP, that we need to get pushed together. But we're really getting to that point of that digital equity or that digital literacy and skills training. And while the library is doing a great job with some innovative things that they are doing now, I'm still going to continue to be an advocate to try to get some of these things in the neighborhoods where it matters. There are a lot of funds that are coming available, and I have just sort of tried to list a few here so that you all would be aware when it comes up. Your support, would definitely be supportive. Of course, there's the state of Kansas. They have their own ARPA funds to issue considered capital project funds. These are going to be a large amount of funds that's going to be able to target these lower income neighborhoods, public Wi-Fi's for different various reasons, multi-purpose centers in these specific neighborhoods to do the type of training and programs, not just the type that they have in the library, but other things that they are doing in other cities. And then, of course, under the infrastructure bill, there's the Digital Equity Act. Now, the capital project funds, they may be issued in a grant form before the end of the year. The Digital Equity Act, which was written into the infrastructure bill, that may be around 2025. But I believe that what we can do now with the grants that we have received, the momentum that we have, other potential funding that can be coming up, that we can put ourselves in a position so that when the Digital Equity Act funds come around, we will build off of what we can do today. And so these are dollars specifically that are going to be dedicated for digital equity. The state of Kansas, when we talk about infrastructure or broadband deployment and development, the state really has all of the money. So we really can sort of spend our time on really building out that adoption piece, that digital literacy piece, and that job skills piece. There's a lot of things that are coming up with virtual job fairs, most applications being online, and other type of trainings and things. So I hope that you can celebrate the week with us. I look forward to the participation and ongoing support of our efforts. And I just want to make sure that I did my part for Digital Inclusion Week and kept people informed. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. No one else signed up for public comment. And we'll move to announcements.
For the October 11th agenda, we have 2 board appointments. We have 1 presentation. Consent agenda consists of a resolution for eminent domain for a water line improvement project at Westridge Mall. We have 3 professional services contracts. Let's see, action items include the ordinance for the South Topeka redevelopment TIF district. We also have the Uptown parking garage resolution. At that time, the city manager will request to defer that item to the October 18th agenda to be considered with the RFP parking discussion. And then the non-discussion items include a discussion concerning the recommendations of the City of Topeka 2022 Redistricting Commission concerning council district boundaries.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got a couple things here. First off is due to the hard work of a lot of folks, including council members Valdivia Alcala as well as Councilwoman Hiller. We have a party that we're looking at on October 15th at Evergy Plaza from noon to 2. This will be a celebration of our changing our culture of property maintenance, the year-end celebration. I think we're still looking for a few volunteers on that one, but that should be a good time had by all. Our first responders with Topeka Fire and Topeka Police will have a very safe trunk or treat event on October 31st. So as folks are making their plans for Halloween, keep that one in mind. And certainly, Mr. Mayor, I would be remiss, and I'm sure that every person around this table will say the same thing. Hats off and incredible amount of thanks to our law enforcement officers for coming to our rescue last week.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I will appreciate the shout out about the Change Our Culture Property Maintenance celebration. It is Saturday the 15th from noon to 2, just 2 hours. There'll be a food truck. There'll be all kinds of activities for kids. There'll be some, Shendel has stepped on, it's a partnership between the city and the Greater Topeka Partnership to get that pushed out. We really appreciate their partnership. Shendel has stepped in as a major sponsor of that event. There will be some giveaways, including at least 1 lawnmower, weed whips, and various yard maintenance equipment that people need. We're really proud of the efforts that people all over the city have made to mow their own yards, to help other people mow their yards, and to begin to pull ourselves, literally change our culture to taking care of ourselves and each other more than we have, to have our city be safer and better. I also wanted to key in on the presentations that we had today, or the proclamations. There is so much going on about diversity and inclusion right now. I'm very proud of this city and all sorts of organizations in it for what we're doing for ourselves and each other. We heard a presentation about the Reconstructive Community Grant. That's for disadvantaged, recognizing disadvantaged communities and bringing a story forward. We've just recognized Hindu Heritage Month. We're still in the second half of Hispanic Heritage Month, both of which we are celebrating here. Last week was the first big DEI summit. Greater Topeka Partnership put it on. It was hosted by Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation. There were at least 100 people there. It was stellar in terms of the networking, the speakers, and the momentum that was coming out of that. The day after, people from the other 6 cases in the Brown v. Board case started arriving here in Topeka. We are now instead of just being the Brown v. Board National Historic Site, we are now the National Historical Park, and those other 6 cases they always were referenced, of course, but now they are part of that park. Somerton, South Carolina is the same as Monroe School, and then the other 5 cases out of 3 other states are affiliates. And so those folks were all here. People networked in this community to get folks out to welcome them. There were over 100 people, including the mayor and city manager, on Thursday evening to welcome them. It included plaintiff era folks from Topeka. There were also plaintiffs from 2 of the other states there that had traveled in with their delegations. And the next morning, there were at least 60 for some excellent speakers about state-of-the-art in education for inclusiveness and so on. That partnership will last indefinitely. It was a tremendous start for what should be a great interactive relationship. A lot of people are looking forward to the 70th anniversary of Brown v. Board in 2 years right now. The Aaron Douglas Art Fair was on Saturday. That was its 17th year, all done by volunteers. The focus of that art fair, which is in central Topeka, behind where the old Dillons used to be, near Grace Med, was to feature diverse and emerging artists. There were over 30 artists all crammed into the corner because of the 12th Street construction. Tremendous vibe, tremendously diverse. They sold lots of art. The music was great. 17 years. Volunteers raised money for that mural as well as have run that fair every year. And so it's just exciting to see that. And there is a program there's a program that will be opening for next week for First Friday about Aaron Douglas. There's been a whole series that Betsy Kanabe Rowe from formerly Washburn University has put together. The program this week will be called Black Art, Not White, in memory of Aaron Douglas as well. The Artie Awards are coming up next week on the 13th, and those 2 are tremendously diverse. And then I'll wrap up by handing off to my colleague who has a lot of responsibility for bringing forward recognition for some programming from Tonantzin Society at the end of October. It's just a pretty exciting time to be here. Thank you.
Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for that, Councilwoman. So I have 3 things that I want to focus on tonight with my announcement. The first is 2 issues that came up at the Historic North Topeka West NIA meeting that I attended last night, things that were troubling enough for me to bring forth in a public setting. We have a business owner in North Topeka that is basically trying to cling to her business right now. She is a very conscientious small business owner along with her son in North Topeka, and they have, and I was able to verify, several $1,000s in security at her business. Her business is pristine, it's well taken care of. Her and her son do the majority of the security themselves. They have called in to the Topeka Police Department before, but it's gotten to the point where vagrants are besieging her property. They're trespassing, setting fires to items in the dumpsters, destruction of their bathrooms, similar to, I would say, what happened at the Oakland Billiard Pool when the sinks were lifted up and destroyed and rammed against the wall and cracked. And she continues with these issues unabated, continuing to secure and secure and secure more. And she will be sharing footage with me that she has of the individual that was setting the fires to her trash. She's obviously at her wit's end. Topeka Police Department were called a couple of times. One individual, the alleged ringleader, she believes, was jailed only to shortly be let go and back to the same antics. This is a continuing problem that we have in Oakland as well. Also, there were several neighbors that were there for another issue on the 900 block of Northwest Clay, where for 2 years they have been having ongoing issues. From everything that I looked at in video footage and photos, appears to be extreme code issues that they believe the city is not hearing them about something being done. What I heard at the meeting, even though TPD was very gracious in saying you need to be calling us more, was very disturbing when I heard in some other departmental people just kind of give them the, that's not my department, we can't do anything about it, whatever. Totally unprofessional. So I just wanted to say that I'll be reaching out to the chief and to code compliance to see if we can get some remedy for these neighbors that have said they are good neighbors, they're upstanding neighbors, they pay their taxes, and they are considering moving out of North Topeka, and we cannot afford to lose them. The other thing I wanted to bring up is last year, it was about November of 2021, I started a dialogue because of community information that I had received about the punitive measures of soft second mortgages that the city had been engaging with for some time. These soft mortgages basically are when homeowners apply with the city for homeowner repairs, landlord repairs, emergency repairs, and voluntary demolitions. After a meeting with, it seemed like, the entire city in one room about this and the concerns I had of the punitive nature of this, it was quickly recommended by, I do believe it was Director Fyander and then City Manager Trout, that this program would be ended. The soft second mortgages were forgiven. So what it is in a nutshell, and not being very proficient in this, is you have a restrictive lien placed on your home anytime you apply for these city funds. And if you go before this 5 years is up, you are charged a penalty for this. And for this to happen in LMI communities, while legal, I think is rather reprehensible. At that time, one of the issues also discussed was the lack of forms in Spanish with these particular programs. And this lack of Spanish documents apparently for years has been happening when folks from the Spanish-speaking community come in. And while I know many of our Spanish-speaking community does understand English, there are a number that do not read English proficiently. And a number of these have been signing the documents. I raised questions and concerns about this when I was told that there were hardly any documents in Spanish for a Spanish-speaking community, a community that gives so much to Topeka, not only in their taxes, but their labor. They're willing to be small business owners, et cetera. I was told that what was good enough and legal enough, it appears, is that there was a translator that translated everything to them so they would know what they were signing. And I was told that back in November that by Mr. Fyander that these documents were going to be put over into Spanish. Almost 1 year later, as I checked on this, the application forms and the contract itself are still in English. They checked with legal because I wanted to know if there was any truth in lending issues that may have been violated, any HUD violations. I was told no. Legal came up with a pithy little commentary about why it's legal that they can do what they do. But what I'm saying today, right now, and publicly, is this is not acceptable. We know that there are more than Spanish-speaking populations here in Topeka, but I speak of the Spanish-speaking population because they are our highest, most likely our highest non-predominantly English-speaking population in the city of Topeka. This is not good enough, and after a year, I'm appalled. While this administration may see that everything that they're doing is legal and see that having a translator is good enough, I would remind everybody here and everybody watching that this nation, when it was founded, was not an English-only nation. There were multitudes of indigenous languages spoken, as well as Spanish across this continent was spoken. So we have to do better than this. Y finalmente, para la gente que hablan y leer solamente en español, lo siento. Thank you, Mayor.
I want to check and make sure, because sometimes Councilwoman Ortiz is on, but then off. Okay, there she is, there. Good. Councilwoman Ortiz. You're muted, Councilwoman.
I'm sorry. I've been off all night. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but it just popped back on, so I've been off. But you know that this is my favorite month, the month of October. I'll wait until next week to see what we have. I don't know if the police or the fire chief is there, but I can wait till next week. I'm kind of frustrated with my service, and now I have to go back and listen to the meeting. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
He is here. Councilman Kell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to say thank you to the Topeka Police Department, and especially the ones that responded on Thursday. I came by after work and saw firsthand what had happened, and mainly because I wanted to see what it looked like personally compared to what the media might have gotten via video or pictures. And I was able to ask a few questions, get a few answers to some things, but lucky that it didn't turn out a lot worse than it did. Secondly, I wanted to announce that the Topeka Tropics indoor football team is now coming back to Topeka after it was put on dormancy. Mr. Jared Bond brought the team here last year and has chose to do family over football and take care of some family matters and put the team in dormancy. But we had 3 Topeka locals, Topeka business owners also, buy the team: Trevor Burdett, Chad Logan, and Josh Barr. They signed a 3-year contract, and we're with the Expo Center, where most of the time it's a 3 one-year contracts where things are laid out for 3 years. This is actually a 3-year contract with the Expo, or the Stormont Vale Expense Center, excuse me. The season starts March 4th in Salina, and the first game at Stormont Vale Event Center will be March 25th. I know this surprised a lot of people in Topeka with the turnout that happened last year, and everyone always wants to sit there and say there's nothing to do in Topeka. So I highly encourage to support the businesses that are trying to provide this entertainment, especially when they're local business owners here in town that are spending their money. But there's also people like Mr. Bond that came in and spent a lot of money in this town to get the Tropics started, and he took a loss on it, but it was something he wanted, entertainment in Topeka for Topekans. And so I just want to say thank you to Mr. Bond for bringing the team here, and then to Mr. Burdett, Mr. Logan, and Mr. Barr for buying the team. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Nager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we're celebrating all of these different cultures, I'm very humbled, and I appreciate all that these different communities bring to Topeka as a whole. especially when they aren't always highlighted. So I appreciate the time to set aside for our neighbors of from different cultures of mine. It is Adopt a Shelter Dog Month, and really more than anything, this is just a reminder to make sure that not only are you taking care of your animals, especially as the weather gets colder, but that we're taking care of the animals that don't currently have homes. The Helping Hands Humane Society is always in need of funds, a need of love, and a need of people to adopt. If you go to hhhstopeka.org or call the number on your screen, you can go ahead and get connected with more information, but just making sure that we take care of the furry, fluffy, and feathery occupants of the Topeka community as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Dobler.
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilman Lesser, are you still online?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm still here. Where do you think I was?
It's hard to tell. I can't see you on the screen. It's for announcements, sir.
My apologies, my camera is not working.
Okay.
I really don't have any, but that's lucky for everybody else. I really don't have much other than to reiterate what many of my colleagues have said. That such a good job by law enforcement this past week. Not to be lost in the fact of what they've done recently from the, going back to the incident at Hayden High School to downtown to, let's not forget this could be a different story. One of our officers took one in the vest that luckily did not penetrate, but one of our officers was shot. Like I said, those guys leave home every day, and they don't have a guarantee they're going to come home. So hats off to our law enforcement officers, as well as the leadership that Chief Wheelis provides. That's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, sir. I'll wrap up with comments about our law enforcement community, and I include the Sheriff's Department, Highway Patrol, and probably Capitol Police is involved as well. But it showed a professional, coordinated response to a quickly developing dangerous situation that could have brought harm to a lot of people. When someone is so intent on hurting others, there's not much you can do to prevent them from doing that. But the officers responded in a way that kept as much as they could the danger contained to where it finally ended. Keeping in mind, and I've heard some comments about, well, why did the officers stop him there? Well, they didn't have that choice. That was where the person ran to. That's where he took them. So he chose that location, and the officers tried to contain that so that it didn't go any further than it did. I am thankful that no civilians were harmed as well, because there were many rounds exchanged. I'm appreciative of how the law enforcement community came together as well after the fact. I was privileged to go down and visit with a lot of the officers there and saw a support community there that hasn't always been in place. I'm not saying this is just a recent thing, but that support for the officers and anyone else who might have been affected by it was there, so I think that's important to understand. I know that that event will be played over in their minds over and over and over. I've had the same kind of a situation. You don't forget how you were involved in something like that. But to see the law enforcement community protect us as well as they did is something that is worthy of note, regardless of how you feel about anything. You have to acknowledge the commitment that they had to put themselves in danger to protect the rest of us. So I thank the law enforcement community, particularly Chief Wheelis and his command staff, for how you kept that focus also on your officers as well, for their well-being, both physically and mentally. I appreciate the cooperation that the Sheriff's Department gave to us. That was certainly a show of collaboration that, again, hasn't always existed. But I think right now the Police Department and the Sheriff's Department have an excellent collaborative effort to keep us all safe. And I know that others were at the ready. I'm sure the fire department was ready, that if they needed to respond and provide any kind of medical aid, that they were attuned to the situation as it developed. So I appreciate everything that has been done. And if there's anything that my office or anyone on this governing body can do, just reach out and ask. So again, thank you, Chiefs. You're both here in the room, and I want to acknowledge that. There being no further announcements, there is a need to have 2 executive sessions that I'm aware of, if the city attorney would read.
The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 30 minutes for consultation with the city attorney to discuss attorney-client privilege matters regarding a contract as justified by KSA 754319B2. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers. The following staff are requested to assist the governing body in its deliberations: City Manager Wade, City Attorney Stanley, Finance Director Matthews, and any other individual the governing body or the city manager deems necessary.
Okay, you've heard the motion. We need to go into executive session. Is there a motion? Councilman Dobler moved to go into executive session. Council, is there a second? Come on, Sylvia. Okay. Second by Councilwoman Ortiz. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll recess and go immediately into executive session unless you need about 5 minutes?
Less than that.
Okay. Okay, we're coming out of our first executive session. No action has been taken. There is a need for a second executive session if the city attorney would read.
Your mic's off.
I can say it again. We've come out of our first executive session. No action has been taken. There is a need for a second executive session. If the city attorney would read, please.
The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 15 minutes to discuss matters related to an individual employee or employees pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers. The following staff may be needed to assist the governing body in its deliberations: City Manager Wade and any other staff he deems necessary.
We've heard the need for a second session. Motion to go into session by Councilman Dobler, second by Councilman Kell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. All those opposed? Sylvia? There you go. Thank you. Consistent. Thank you. Okay, we'll recess immediately into second executive session. No more Kell run. Okay, we're coming out of our second executive session. No action has been taken. There being no further business coming before this body, I declare this meeting adjourned. This is soft.